Hi, this is Dan from the Ask Dan Show. Today's question. Irasan Yildiz asks, can I be in a high caloric deficit if I'm overweight? Now, this is a very common question because people are afraid to go in too high of a caloric deficit because they think that it's going to affect their metabolism. It's going to stunt their metabolism. This is right and wrong. And what I mean by that is, if you go into a high caloric deficit too many days in a row, then that's going to really hurt the metabolism. Once the metabolism realizes that fat is its main source of energy and carbohydrates are not, then it's going to slow down. Imagine if the body knows that it has infinite carbohydrates coming in. It's going to ramp the metabolism up as high as it possibly can. It has to use the metabolism to process all of these carbs. The body has no choice but to do this. It can't have carbohydrates going unprocessed. So when it has an influx of them, it realizes, hey, we have a lot of carbohydrates coming in. We have a lot of extra energy that we have to utilize. It will then repair the muscles as fast as it can. It will ramp the metabolism up, thus burning more energy. It's going to give you more energy, right? But as soon as it realizes that carbohydrates are not the main source and that fat is, it's going to slow down. It's going to realize, hey, we don't have infinite fat. We can't go reckless. We can't ramp the metabolism up as high as we possibly can because we don't have infinite fat. So if you want to go in a high caloric deficit, what I recommend is, let's say you're working out 3 times a week. Well, Monday you work out, you're going to want to go in a slight deficit. You don't want to go in too high of a caloric deficit on a workout day because you need your proteins and your carbohydrates to repair the muscles, right? So let's say you work out Monday, you're at a slight deficit. That Tuesday, you can go into a higher caloric deficit, right? I'm known for going in very high caloric deficits. I can go into 500 calories, 1,000 calories a day. I see great results only if it's timed right. You can't do this every day. You have to bob and weave. So you have to go slight deficit, then you can go at a higher deficit. Let's say you work out that Wednesday, then you go at a slight deficit. That next Thursday, you can go into a higher deficit. Friday, slight deficit. That Saturday, you're not going to want to go into too big of a deficit. So to summarize, I would not go more than 2 days out of the week at a high caloric deficit. And you always want to make them on rest days. So even if you're really overweight, you can still be at a very high caloric deficit without ruining metabolism if you are supplementing this right. Now, what you're going to want to do on the slighter deficit days, you're going to want to go higher carbohydrates. So your body's metabolism is ramped up. What I do in theory is I let my body constantly think carbohydrates are the main source of energy. And by doing this, I am ramping up my metabolism as high as it'll go, which is a very good thing. People who go low carbohydrate for too long and then they go high caloric deficit, this is really bad for the metabolism. And you might see some short-term gains, but in the long run, your body is going to be set up to gain fat and store it more. So you're going to be working against your body to lose the weight, which is always hard. And that's why you see people struggle with this. When the body is getting an adequate amount of carbohydrates, when you go on those high caloric days, when you go on those high caloric deficit days, the body's fat melts off and it becomes much easier to then lose the weight because you're not going to be fighting it. You're not going to have these cravings. Your hormones are going to be okay. And the body's going to think, even if the body doesn't think 100% that carbohydrates are the main source, you're still going to benefit from that at a 60%, 70% level. You can't always be a perfectionist and get it 100%. I try to get it at 100% because I really like to be in that level, that state of high energy, high metabolism. I really notice that I have an abundance of energy when I do it the way I'm doing it. So to summarize, yes, you can be in a high caloric deficit, but you have to know what you're doing and you have to use it strategically.